one-upmanship taking place within the GOP as B-list Trump wannabes duke it out and brag to Fox and the base that they are more than racist enough to be the party's new standard bearer. I imagine in the past you've likely heard the line, "What would Jesus do?" from some on the Christian right. Now, I may be Muslim, but I feel I can rather confidently tell you that Jesus, he wouldn't be doing this. He wouldn't be spending millions upon millions of taxpayer dollars for no other reason than to own the libs. He wouldn't be playing a glorified game of hot potato with babies, literal babies. And again, I must reiterate, this isn't just one Republican governor going rogue. No, no, no. Apparently, flinging unwanted brown people across the country is now the bigotry du jour for aspiring GOP 2024 presidential candidates. Seeking to outshine proud Christian, fierce Bible lover, noted family man Greg Abbott this week was proud Christian, fierce Bible lover, noted family man Ron DeSantis, who dipped into his state's $12 million anti-immigration fund to relocate not asylum seekers from his own state, but asylum seekers from 1,000 miles away in Texas and relocate them to the remote island enclave of Martha's Vineyard. And I really should correct myself because he didn't relocate them. He effectively kidnapped these people, luring them onto planes with promises of jobs and expedited visas and free housing in Boston. And then he proceeded to send them to a tiny island with no support services and no warning to the people there. If that's not what most people would call kidnapping, if that's not what a lot of people would call human trafficking, I don't know what is. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic, consider these comments from Rachel Self, a top immigration and criminal defense attorney and a regular legal analyst for Fox, of all places.
They were lied to again and again and fraudulently induced to board the planes. They were told there was a surprise present for them and that there would be jobs and housing awaiting for them when they arrived. This was obviously a sadistic lie.
Sadistic indeed. But if that immigration lawyer's outrage isn't enough to move you, listen to this back and forth from Tweedledee and Tweedle. Just watch.
Let's say I went down to the border and I brought a big truck with me and I picked up a bunch of illegal immigrants and I started transporting them across the country. Would I or would I not likely be arrested for human trafficking, and would it be illegal to do that for me if I did that?
For you, a citizen, you could easily be arrested.
So, illegality from the horse's mouth. They're not saying the quiet part out loud, folks. They're bellowing it. Now, here's the thing. We can get as worked up about this as we want. We can pound our fists and fire off some all-caps tweets and, I don't know, sing America the Beautiful in front of the Supreme Court like House Democrats did after Roe was overturned. In other words, we can do absolutely nothing, or this Democratic administration and this Democratic Congress can open investigations, hold hearings, see if there is a legal criminal case to be made against the likes of Ron DeSantis. Because otherwise, as the midterms approach, we'll continue to see brown families, brown children, brown babies hurled across the country like political footballs. What's that saying? Oh, yeah. The cruelty is the point. Joining me now are Molly Jong-Fast, contributing writer for The Atlantic and author of the Wait What newsletter, Elie Mystal, justice correspondent for The Nation magazine, and Kurt Bardella, a DNC and DCCC advisor and former spokesperson for the Republicans back in the day on the House Oversight Committee. Thank you all for joining me. Elie, let me start with you. I mean, it's not the case of catching Ron DeSantis in the act. He said he plans to spend millions keeping on doing this, millions from a Florida fund that's supposed to be for people in Florida, not Texas. How can any of this be legal, Elie, under Florida or federal law?
Well, it shouldn't be. I think we need to start there. First, I don't want to, give people false hope. Not every evil, sadistic, twisted, bigoted, racist thing these people do is illegal. Some of those evil, sadistic, racist, bigoted things are just allowed in this country. This is a country that has cut its teeth on the forced or coerced relocation of non-white citizens throughout American history. This ain't new. When Joe Biden says that it's un-American, nah, sorry, Mr. President. This is strangely American, using non-white people, weaponizing them, and carting them around the country. This is what this country has done in the past. However, in this specific case, I think especially when you look at the immigrants sent to Martha's Vineyard, we have reports that they were lied to, that they were tricked, that they were induced with false promises to get on planes and then shipped someplace where they weren't told where they were going. That, to me, is a violation of the federal kidnapping statutes. The legal term of art is inveigling. As I think most people can kind of, their horse sense can kind of understand. If I roll down and find a bunch of teenagers and I say, look, kids, hop in my van, I'm going to take you to Disney World, and I take them to Busch Gardens, and I take them to old Williamsburg, that's kidnapping. I didn't take the kids where I said I was going to take the kids, right? So I think that in this case, Ron DeSantis told these people, including children, that we take them to one place, Boston, which would have services where they would get expedited work visas, where they would have housing, and then sent them to a different place. That is kidnapping. And the person that we need to understand that is, unfortunately, at this point, not Ron DeSantis, not Greg Abbott. We need Merrick Garland, once again, to understand that and bring the full weight and power of the federal government down on these people.
Who was at Ellis Island just yesterday celebrating immigration. Timely. Molly, it was your Atlantic colleague Adam Serwer who coined the line, "The cruelty is the point." What kind of person, let alone a self-proclaimed proud Christian, ships a newborn baby across the country like livestock merely to make a political point, to own the libs? I mean, the cruelty, the cynicism is unfathomable.
Well, it's interesting because we're seeing these mini Trumps, right? And they're trying to out-Trump each other for the 2024 nomination. And so we're seeing these kind of like Abbott's doing it, and then DeSantis is doing it. And it's really, it is really the cruelty is the point. I mean, I think ultimately the problem here is that once you start dehumanizing people, it leads to all sorts of terrible things, as we have seen throughout history. So that is quite scary. Yeah. And then I would also say, it doesn't seem to me like Republicans are getting better. It seems like they're getting worse. It seems like the message of Trump is just to be as bad as you possibly can because the base loves it. And I think that's quite scary because it doesn't seem like there's any kind of backing up happening. And I think that I almost feel like, couldn't the House have hearings, and couldn't there be more sort of investigations into sort of, is this okay?
So on that note, Kurt, let me bring you into the conversation. I want to get your reaction to President Biden's comments on these busing stunts. Here's what he said yesterday. Have a listen.
Republicans are playing politics with human beings, using them as props. What they're doing is simply wrong. It's un-American. It's reckless. And we have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working to make sure it's safe and orderly and humane.
Is that enough, Kurt? Shouldn't Democrats be mounting a full court press against this, like they did against child separation?
Well, I think one of the things that we need to realize here is the context in which this is happening. The political environment has become very toxic and poisonous for the Republicans heading into the midterms because of their radical extreme stance on abortion, their assault on women's rights in America. How convenient that as the political winds start changing, they start turning to these stunts. And we've seen iterations of this before. Remember the last time? It was the migrant caravans. We heard nothing about nonstop. Migrant caravans are coming. They're invading us. And then the minute the election ended, that story went away from them. This is just taking that playbook on steroids to a whole new level. That's what they're doing. They don't want us spending any time talking about their efforts to try to mandate forced birth in this country, try to mandate taking away women's rights. They want us to talk about issues that they think they can win on. For so long, going back now almost more than 2 decades, they have seen the issue of immigration, of migrants, of anyone that's not white. They think that's their wheelhouse. They think that's where they can win. That's why they're doing this right now.
We can't forget caravans, of course, Kurt, from 2018, the last time we had midterms. Elliot, how much of this is about race? If these were white families, white babies being treated this way, if this was, I don't know, the Polish right-wing government sending babies without warning on buses to London or Paris to make a political point, how much outcry would there be in comparison?
They never do this to white people, and we all know it. The fact that these people are non-white is baked into the system. It's baked into how they are allowed, how they think they can get away with treating people this despicably, by treating human beings as if they're a garbage barge that can be sent around the country, right? Like that. The fact, and I want to pick up on what Kurt just said, because the fact that Republicans think, and might not be wrong, that treating non-white people in this way is a winner for them, kind of tells you all you need to know about the